But we want to talk about that risk for severe weather, not only for the Twin Cities, but also off towards the Northeast. And joining me right now is AccuWeather's severe weather expert, Guy Pearson, joining us. And he is breaking down that severe weather risk today. Guy, we want to start off with why this storm system, especially the severe storms we'll get today, are so rare for this area of the country, because we really don't tend to see it throughout the month of May in states like Wisconsin or Michigan.
Yep. Good morning, everybody. As far as the overall weather pattern, right, it's really the ingredients that go into making the severe weather. So if your weather pattern decides to shift a little farther north, like we are, in this particular time frame, then we're going to see that severe weather a little bit farther north. We are running about a month ahead of schedule. I know we've talked about the heat all week as hot, and we're talking 90s, I think, in Chicago tomorrow or today, ahead of the severe weather for them tomorrow or later today and tomorrow. And at the same time, that heat's working its way north. We have moisture this far north, and really, this upper level low that's over the Dakotas at the moment has really helped to pull everything to the north. And so it's just that movement of the weather pattern farther north, and that's why we're looking at severe weather today across Minnesota into Wisconsin and of course Michigan.
And then on top of it, again, that high risk zone is focusing on a couple different factors here. So what all can we expect as these thunderstorms blossom? When do they start, and what are some of those threats for us?
Yep, we're looking at things to really blossom here later today. Currently we do have that line of weakening showers and thunderstorms across Minnesota as they're approaching the Minneapolis and St. Paul region there. But as we get into the early afternoon hours, we are looking at things to really develop along, what is sort of the edge of the warmth itself, across Wisconsin back towards, southern Michigan. And so, we are expecting large hail with these. Damaging winds is going to be another big impact there, as well as even tornadoes with some of these cells, especially earlier in the day.
And then these storms kind of get going in a line. They're going to continue through time, but you can see several different cities here on that list for the high risk of severe weather, which includes Milwaukee, Grand Rapids, Green Bay, South Bend. The list could go on to Hayward, Wisconsin, Wausau, Wisconsin. Let's track this out throughout the day for everyone, Guy, because we will be, again, you said, starting through the afternoon hours, starting to see these thunderstorms form.
Yep, certainly, we're looking at 11 o'clock here, and as we sort of step forward, you can see things sort of blossom across where that satellite line was, across basically western Wisconsin back through southern Wisconsin. And, as they start to develop, sort of like what we've seen this morning, looking back at some of the LSRs overnight, last night, we did have some, almost 70-mile-an-hour winds reported along the South Dakota-Minnesota line. And so, typically this time of the morning, those thunderstorms, the energy will weaken a little bit. But by the time we get to early this afternoon, that's when we'll start to see things start to line back up, re-intensify. And then that'll be that line of storms that'll march, northeastward through northern Wisconsin. And then as we work through the, afternoon from 4 o'clock onwards, that's when we're expecting then the rest of the thunderstorms to develop across southern Wisconsin, far northeastern Illinois, and certainly southwestern Michigan as we get into the evening and overnight hours. And you can really see then as we get additional jet energy to push into the back edge of these, that's how we get those storms to develop across southern Michigan. And then with that main driving force being the wind, then that's going to be the primary mode as we go through the evening hours, as far as damaging winds being the primary impacts.
Real soakers there with some wind across Michigan. And of course, all modes of severe weather are on the table there, from parts of Minnesota through Wisconsin into Michigan and Indiana tonight. Well, AccuWeather severe weather expert Guy Pearson, thanks again for joining us this morning.